video watching. Comes up.
All right, I'm calling this meeting to order since we're behind schedule here. I'm Carol Bush, and this is the Public Works Committee meeting. Call to order, number 2, reappointment to the Human Rights Commission. We have Amanda Peregrina Turner. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Very good. Come on up and tell us about yourself. Welcome.
Thank you.
Just tell us a little bit about yourself and
Well,
why you want to do this.
actually, I was just checking, and this is gonna be my 10th year with the Human Rights Commission. I
Wow.
guess I'm the oldest member of the,
Seasoned.
Oh, reappointment.
Seasoned.
Reappointment,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, but the thing is that I've been, since I came to Tulsa in 2004, I've been very, very involved with the community. I'm part of the community, so, actually, I come from Mexico. I came from Mexico.
Okay.
To be a teacher for actually immigrant children. And that's what I've been doing all my life. In Mexico, I started, I had a program. I developed a program for street children. I don't know if you know, street children are the children that live on their own in the street. And one of the things that I learned from them was that a lot of the children living in the street were because their parents came to the United States trying to find a better way. But by the time they were reaching out to try to bring them in, things happen with the families that they're in, and they start living on their own. And so I didn't understand what was happening here for the parents to be losing their children back there. And that was one of the motives that brought me in, because I wanted to know the other part of the coin. And I learned all the obstacles and all the things that they have to overcome living here. And that got me very involved with the community and trying to see ways to help out, to get them acquainted, to see, what resources are there for them. So I've been in every organization, like nonprofits that work with them to see how we can help. And so this was just part of it, to have a voice to talk for them and to be there for them.
That's great. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
Do you all have anything?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
They're
you very much.
continuing to serve.
Yeah, right. We appreciate that.
That's my goal.
Councilor Bush.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, didn't see.
Okay.
I looked at you and you didn't have your hand up. Go ahead.
I know, I've got little stubby fingers,
Sis.
and so you can really tell. It was up. So, I just wanted to tell you thank you as well. What part of Mexico?
I was born in Mexico City, but I lived for a long time in Morelia, Michoacán. That's where I
okay.
developed the program for the street children. And then I went to live to Cuernavaca, Morelos, and that's where I was recruited by Denver Public Schools to come teach migrant children to the United
That's
States.
great. My grandmother was from Villa Mata
Mm.
in the state of Chihuahua.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Nice.
Not too far from Juarez, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
near
I
the
understand.
northern part, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, that's neat. Thank you so much
No,
for
you're
serving.
so welcome. You're
It's
so
a
welcome.
great capacity.
Well, and that's my heart,
I love
to
it.
be here.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we will be bringing this up at our 5 o'clock on June 4th. You're
Okay.
welcome to be there. I
Okay.
don't see any issues, but you're welcome to be there and say something if you want,
Okay, thank you.
down in the council place.
Okay.
Council place.
Okay.
Council chambers.
It's been a long day.
It's been
Sorry
a
we're
long
so
day.
low. Thank you for having energy for us.
June 4th,
Yes, June 4th,
At
at
5.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, okay.
Okay. All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Thank you,
Well,
appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, number 3, Mr. James Deming. Oh, there, did I say it right? Okay. Reappointment to the Sales Tax Overview Committee. Term expires December 31st, 2027. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. So I guess I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I work in financial operations as my day job. for a Fortune 500 company, and then I run a hobby honey company, Shadow Mountain Honey Company here in Tulsa.
yeah.
We run a couple beehives or a couple hundred beehives in the city, and the closest ones are over here on the Hotel Indigo. And I have a passion for the city of Tulsa and a lot of the things that are going on in the city of Tulsa. So when the position became open I think it's about a year ago in District 7, Lori Dector asked if I would like to take the position. So I applied, and I've been doing it for about a year, and just really like to be involved in all of the projects and so forth that are going on around the city, Gilcrease and the things at the zoo and the pedestrian bridge, but even then beyond that, the public works and the helicopters in the streets and stuff like that. So it's a big interest to me, and I like to be a big promoter of the city of Tulsa, and what a great little spot we have here in the mid-southwest, whatever you want to call it, wherever we're at. It's just
That sounds right.
Yeah. I just have a great passion for all the great things that are going on in our city, and I think that we're going places, and I like to be a part of it.
That's great. Well, thank you for serving
Yeah,
in this
absolutely.
capacity. Do you all have anything?
No, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Not
thank
only serving on the sales tax overview committee, but you have a small business that's contributing to the sales taxes in
Yeah.
the city, and I feel like we've been in. Do you do trade shows? Oh.
Not very many, no.
Okay, okay.
We mostly sell out of our home. We're into the food operation, the Oklahoma State Food Operations Law, whatever it's called, but,
That's good.
yeah.
How many times have you been stung?
This week?
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, we get stung on the regular.
Wow,
It's
wow,
just
wow.
part of the gig. Yeah,
Thank you
yeah,
so much.
absolutely.
Did you
Council?
say you own beehives?
Yeah, we've got 200 beehives here in the
And you
city.
didn't bring any samples?
We're sold out.
Honey?
You're, oh, wow.
We
You
sell
know what,
out.
to be fair, the Councilor Archie's never brought us his toffee.
Well, I was gonna make the same
So like, it's a
accusation.
real
The
issue.
I was gonna make the
Yes.
same
Are you
accusation.
the
Oklahoma toffee.
that gives to teachers?
Mm.
We've talked many a time. I eat your toffee.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes,
Wow.
you've actually donated to my wife's classroom.
Really?
Yes, so
Oh,
that, I knew you looked
gosh.
familiar.
Hey, his
so-
turn's over. So, how profitable is the honey business?
It's not.
It's not?
It's not really, no.
It's just
quite,
the reward
it's
of
quite
bees.
expensive, and it's farming, and this year's gonna be a really bad year for it, actually.
Okay.
Because we got cool weather, too wet of weather. We want water, but not too much, and we've gotten too much. And so our beehives are not real healthy at the moment, and that's consistent with beekeepers across the country. Approximately 70% of kept beehives have passed since last fall.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
So
Pass,
quit
you
using
mean
I love
die?
honey
I mean
though, I
die.
can tell you
Yeah.
that.
Beehives die?
Yes,
That's a problem.
they do, consistently, a lot. Yeah.
You said it's farming. That's different. I didn't know that.
Well,
Was
thanks for
considered farming.
serving.
Absolutely.
And next time
Yeah.
you come to the table, I hope you have some.
Just bring the bees.
Yeah, just bring, yeah.
They can go
bees.
right over there on the roof of the Hotel Indigo, they're there right now, so.
Thank you again.
So
All
you
right,
finished
thank you, and
quit
we'll be approving
spraying
you
with
at the June 4th meeting at
herbicide.
5.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you. You can bring the bees and honey then.
Yeah, that would be a short meeting.
Don't bring the bees, just the honey.
That's not the worst thing.
Okay, items 4, 5, and 6 are related, so I think Mr. Zachary is here. Ordinance closing a sanitary sewer easement requested by Mitch Stevens, Tecton Homes, on behalf of Highland Park neighborhood for properties located at 3539 and 3545 South Braden Avenue, as well as 5133 East 36th Street. Mr. Zachary.
So you've got items 4, 5, and 6. It's a common sanitary sewer easement that runs across a couple of properties. They were recorded in 3 different book and page, so just to keep the track clean, it's broken into 3 items, but it is the same sanitary sewer area that runs through there, and everybody's looked at this, and we received no objections, so we would recommend approval of this closure.
Great. Any questions? Seeing none, you're done. That was easy.
Right.
Thank you.
One more,
You guys number 7.
number 7.
That's all part of it.
Oh, yeah, I forgot, sorry. I was waiting for John Fothergill. Okay, number 7.
I hate to disappoint.
I know. Well, we see you weekly. Okay, ordinance closing a utility easement requested by Joe Pace on on behalf of the Church at South Tulsa LLC for property located at 8855 East 91st Street for Calvary Bible Church building expansion.
Yes, ma'am. The church is expanding in the back area, and there's this 20-foot wide easement that is keeping them from going across their lot line. It does not have a line in it right now, and they want to expand across that. And everybody's looked at that, including everybody at the utility authority, and there is no objection to it. We would recommend approval of that closure and let the church spread out.
Okay, any questions? Okay, church is spreading.
Very good.
All right,
We wanna
thank you,
spread the
sir.
church. She wants to talk with you.
Well, I'm moving us along, I'm trying to get us back on schedule here.
We're doing great.
Okay, number 8, discussion with the Tulsa County Treasurer, John Fothergill, or his designee regarding the process for property tax payments and legal or other limitations. So John, welcome.
Thank you. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
Well, Lathan just got up and left.
You all had a discussion with the
Yeah.
SoHi program, and you had some follow-up questions, and so, Councilor Lincoln was just the sponsor to, the treasurer on to talk about, what those questions were. So, I don't know if you have an overview.
Sure,
first,
yeah.
then we
So,
can-
we really do appreciate the SoHi effort. You guys have saved a lot of houses from going to the sale, and, the details of the program are up to you guys, as far as where it goes and how much you're willing to pay. It was limited the first year we used it because of the limitations on the date range that you could use the funds. But at the last moment, there was some philanthropic effort that was able to pay the difference, and so you guys did save houses from being sold. And let me tell you that every time anyone calls my office and has delinquent tax and they are in the city of Tulsa, we steer them that way. We were steering them as well to the state, but the state has run out of funds for their programs. And that was all out of COVID funds as well, so. So at this point, we're still sending them to you guys, and you do have limited funds, and, that's gonna take away. When we, go to this sales process, it's after 3.5 years of unpaid taxes. The vast majority, for anybody that lives in the city of Tulsa, of those unpaid taxes are due to Tulsa Public Schools, if they live in the Tulsa Public School District, over 50%. Roughly, around, 10 to 12% is the city of Tulsa for your GO bonds and any kind of settlements that you have that go through that process. And so we collect a little bit less in Tulsa County for all of Tulsa County than we do for the city of Tulsa, just in the city of Tulsa. So as far as property taxes. So when we collect all those taxes, some of that's going back to the city of Tulsa, some of it goes back to TPS, some of it goes back to the county. So the hardest part of my job is having to sell the houses. Empty pieces of land, I don't have any problem with that at all. But if it's a home, and especially if it's an occupied home, that's hard. Normally they're getting turned around and somebody's investing in that and turns it into a rental is what happens. But that person or family that's in there usually doesn't have an option. If they had an option, they would have paid their taxes and they would have kept their home. So it's an unfortunate, and there's got to be a hammer, and unfortunately I'm that hammer. And it's my state bound duty. I mean, when I swear my oath, that's what I have to do is I shall sell those delinquent properties that are more than 3 years delinquent on the second Monday in June. So, as far as the payment plans, there was a bill, House Bill 2003 in 2023 by Representative Boatwright. I did not stop that bill. It went through the House 53 to 20 or 53 to 30 something. It went over to the Senate side. It went through, and my representative actually voted for it both times, both in this committee and on the floor. on the Senate side, it went through the Senate committee, and it never got heard on the Senate floor. Unfortunately, as Commissioner Bush can tell you, or Counselor Bush, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Counselor Bush can tell you.
Any title's great.
Yeah, Counselor Bush can tell you, things get a little squirrely at the end, and a lot of times it's dealt with budget, and those things that don't have high priority get pushed aside. Representative Boatright did not run this again. It was a live shell, I don't know why, and the Senator Siegfried was on the Senate side, and I've never talked to her about why she didn't pick it back up in 2024. I was opposed to the bill in the form that it was in. There's a couple reasons why. Number one, we have no idea what the tax bill is going to be until October 1st. And so if you're asking me to collect tax payments and I don't know what the tax bill is, it's hard for me to tell you. Now, I can tell you what last year's was, and I can tell you what I think next year's is going to be, but until I get it certified, so say there's a judgment against the city of Tulsa for $10 million because somebody died in the jail, which has happened. That gets levied onto those taxes, and so if somebody's taxes jump, it's not my fault, but they're going to be looking at me. And so that was the one of the sticking points. The second sticking point was, what happens if somebody has a life experience and needs that money back? They have prepaid a tax that's not due to them, not due to me yet. It's not due to me until December 31st. That's when it's due. So they prepaid, say they prepaid $1,000, and they have some kind of tragedy. My car broke down, I broke my leg, I've got to go to assisted living. Am I supposed to hold that $1,000? If they haven't paid the entirety of their taxes, I can't apply it to their tax account by state statute. So is that a payment? Have I taken a payment? I can't apply it to their account unless I have the full payment.
And you're saying that wasn't addressed in the bill?
No, it wasn't addressed in the bill at all. And I asked Mr. Representative Boatright, can we have a couple things? Number one, I don't want to keep the interest because it's not my interest to keep. It's their money. It's the taxpayers' money. So have the taxpayer keep the interest. And that was not what the intent of this bill was. I can say there was a treasurer that wanted to bankroll this money. My idea of the treasury for Tulsa County is to be as small as possible. I'm a small government type of guy. And so the smaller the treasury, the better off I think we are as a people. Now, another treasurer said, the more I can invest, the more money I can have for the county, and the better off everybody is. Different points of philosophy, and that's what the reason he wanted to run this bill was to keep all that interest to help fund his office. I was against that. It's not our money. It's the taxpayers' money. They don't even know the bill yet. So that was number one. And number two was if they wanted the money back, that all they had to do is come to my office and sign an affidavit that we would notarize for them saying, I want all my money back. And I could hand them over a check. And that way, I wasn't the guy that was holding their money for a tax bill that they hadn't received yet. Now, when this went to the Treasurers Association, 51 of the treasurers were at our meeting, and all 51 of them voted against supporting this bill. The one that actually wanted it was not in the room at the time. And so, and that's in its current form. And there was a few reasons why. Some of these treasurers have been treasurers for a couple decades and had done payment plans illegally, might I add. The state auditor would say that's completely illegal. Did these payment plans and had the same quandaries that we had. What do we do with all these payments that have paid some, but not the entire amount? Where does that money go? Is that a payment? Can I sell your property 3 years from that because I have money on books? So that's where we were. It never got brought up again. I'd be more than happy to work with you guys to figure out a bill. For Tulsa County, it won't be a problem at all to be able to track. We're pretty sophisticated. For some of these smaller counties, it might be. I can't speak for them. I can't tell you their support or not. Some of them, I would say this, the older the treasurer is, more likely the less they want to change. I'm fairly new. I'm all for it. I want to help. I don't want to sell anybody's house. Again, that's the worst part of my job. And the financial literacy part that you guys put on that program, fantastic. Because once you get people to understand that they need to save that money and put it back, they can do it and they'll be financially independent. I mean, that's the goal. So thank you for your time.
So real quick, because we're right on that, were there any other opposition besides the other treasurers like OML or county commissioner?
No,
No.
none that I know of. You know, I heard the banking industry had talks about it because, you know, they, you know, that's kind of their space, savings accounts, so. But I didn't ever hear that officially or hear anything from the banking association.
So if we could find the right authors, would you be willing to work with them once they're out of session, maybe to bring it up next year again?
Oh, yeah, and,
With
you know,
some
I've worked with,
language?
you know, Representative Provenzano, she's run a couple of bills for me, so, yeah, I'd be happy to.
Okay, great.
But, you know, like again, I can't speak for any other treasurer. There's 77 of us, and,
Right.
you know, just like you guys couldn't speak for Jinx or, you know, Owasso, I can't speak for Rogers County or, you know, Okmulgee County.
Well, maybe we can do what I did a lot, we just put a threshold. Counties of 250,000 or
Yeah,
more.
we have that in several different places, and
I know.
and that, you know,
That
it does make things
eliminates-
easier sometimes,
a lot of
because as you well know, it's a lot of times it's rural versus urban,
Well.
more than it is Republican versus Democrat in the ideas and thoughts.
Same thing.
Yep, if we get the right authors, I think we can get it done. Yep,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
Just to,
Counselor Bellis.
yeah, I just want to add context for, thank you so much for spending
Okay.
time with us. I love getting to talk across different levels of government. Just to give some context for newer counselors, not this past year at our kind of legislative forum, but at the prior year, this was a big discussion relative to that, the program that's been discussed that Counselor Hall Harper, and Counselor Patrick had really, championed and brought into.
Council Q.
Counselor Q, thank you, and Jeannie, of course, brought into like fruition, that's been so high impact. And at that time, the discussion really had to do with, and I think a lot of the kind of counselor perspective or pieces of that discussion that made, Senator Boatman interested in the bill itself as well was this idea of like, one, knowing how hard it is for people to make those payments, is there a way to make it more incremental? Or, sort of people to be able to do it in pieces and have those kinds of plans, which I understand, like, per your point, there's a lot of different considerations or logistical barriers to that. And that's very much what we were hearing was, okay, here's X, Y, or Z challenge, but we know that can actually, is one of those mechanisms of helping be able to affordably, like, with payment plans, and maybe this is something with the Financial Empowerment Center too, paired with this program, of course, that can help keep people, in their homes or maintaining property. Though I do have some properties I'm really excited when the 3-year thing hits that are just sitting around my neighborhood. Yeah, I'm just like, ooh, I cannot wait for somebody to occupy them and for them to stop being vacant. But I know that some of the challenge that was brought up was like these, these mechanisms, et cetera. And I would be really curious to figure out, per your point with that other state statute, if we can still within a single subject bill do something. So that's great to hear that you're amenable to like, hey, we could go back to the table to figure something out. Because I think some of our logic had also been, wouldn't the county, compared to people who default and pay nothing, or you end up in this like delinquent property situations and no one's there, wouldn't you rather collect something than nothing? But I hear you with that element of, okay, but then what do I do when it's not a full payment?
Right.
So I think, here's a quick question, or maybe this is for Counselor Bush. Like, one, it seems like there's an opportunity to either take what was there and try to really modify, rerun it, or start from scratch on this bill, or two, like, would an interim study be helpful? Because I know there's like revenue considerations for different counties within this about what is left uncollected or not. I just wasn't sure if an interim study would be helpful, or if you think it's just like, hey, we could just move forward on trying to draft a different bill.
Well, it depends on who the author is. Some
Okay.
authors do the interim studies. I think finding the right authors and sitting down and maybe even visiting with the treasurers to get their input, good, bad, or, indifferent, and then crafting the bill. I think that's, sometimes interim studies are just for show.
I know. I don't want to waste anyone's time with that
So I
either.
think we can be more direct with that, especially since Boatman is gone, since he's no longer there. But finding some other House members. But I'd be willing to help
Sure.
figure out who that right person is and maybe do some preliminary work, Counselor Bellis, with the leadership team to see about the appetite of re-bringing this up.
Yeah, that would be great. I know.
Yep.
Yeah, this is something that I know has been an interest for a long time.
Everybody, yeah, I think it's great. Okay. Was that it? Oh, yeah, okay.
She doesn't-
Counselor Bell, or Archie, and then Paul Harper.
I'm good.
You good?
Perfect.
Okay, you.
Well, first I want to say that, like Councilor Bella said, at that legislative meeting that we held, state legislators said that you were the only holdout. That's where I got it from.
They threw you right
Did
under
they
that
not?
bus.
That-
Yeah. No, they
that-
said they were like every
they
other.
did.
They said every other treasurer
Every
would
other
love this
treasurer in
except
the
you, and
state.
that you were the holdup.
Every other treasurer in the state, you were the only holdout.
They did
No,
tell us
so-
that.
I can give you
And
your
so
minutes, I'll send you our
I'm not
minutes.
saying,
from our
I'm not
treasurer's
saying you're
I understand
lying,
that-
I'm just saying that's what we were told.
It was actually the exact opposite.
And that's crazy to me, but I just want you to know that
That's-
that's the information that we were
Sure,
given,
sure.
okay?
That is true.
So,
That did happen.
apologize for that, but that's what they said. We do now currently have two options. You can make one payment and then pay the next one. So there's already two, right?
Right,
Not
right.
just one.
You-
Yes,
Yeah,
sir,
you
but-
can
You
make,
can make a partial payment, but it's only,
well, so
half.
you have to make at least half.
Half, right.
You can't do a quarter.
right,
or-
but it's still two.
And you can
half.
do more than half. And then, yes, you have to have the final by the end of the year, but that's only if you live in the house. It's only residential. So commercial property doesn't do that.
But that's what we're talking about. We're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
homes.
Yeah.
And keeping people in homes. I
Yeah.
could care less about commercial properties. And so, but as it is right now, you can make two payments.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that's possible. I know that there are other states that have this option where you can make your property taxes monthly. How are they able to do that if what you're saying is the case, that you can't do that because you don't know what the amount of the property tax is going to be?
I don't know about any other states, how they do it. Tell me a state, I'll look it up and I'll figure it out.
Okay. So, and that was my question.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my
yeah,
main
I
thing,
mean,
because and like you said, there's some counties that have, I was told that there are some counties that you said it's illegal, right?
Oh, yeah,
But
it's illegal.
they're doing that in their small communities. So it's possible. I mean, we gotta get it legislated, so it's legal, but it's possible.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so again, so how are they, even though it's illegal, how do you think they were able to do that? Were they guessing,
No.
estimating?
They set it up, and again, they had the same problems. They didn't have enough money when it came to the end, or people didn't pay off the entire amount, and then they had this ghost account that had partial payment, but not enough to pay.
So, and I guess this would be dealt with legislatively, but could it not be that if you agree to make to divide your payments up in 12 months, if something like that were to happen, you're signing off that those funds are just going into the county coffers?
I mean, yeah, you could draft the legislation however you want to, but
To
at the end of
address
the
that,
day,
I'm saying so you won't be stuck, but
at
I
the
know a
end of the
lot
day,
of
the
that, what I'm hearing
representatives
is
have to
kind of.
answer back to their constituents
Oh,
as well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, just like with anything else, when you sign a waiver, you're understanding that if this happens, then this is what's going to happen to
Oh,
those
yeah.
funds.
And
It's
that's
not
what I
up
was
in the
asking
air.
for.
You can literally legislate that. And then, again, interest, that's an opportunity to make, we're in a crunch year, right? We're trying to find money to pay for services for our citizens. And
Oh,
so
well,
I don't
so-
see that as I'm hearing more
It's
political
their money,
reasons. I get it,
Right.
it, but it's.
and they don't actually
it's-
owe the tax until December 31st.
Yeah,
And so
to
that's
me,
the
not a big
moral
deal.
problem I have with collecting the interest. If they're having problems already to pay their payments, and I'm supposed to take their, 5% interest or 4% interest, that
It's
doesn't
an
seem
option.
right to me.
My point is, it's an option. They don't have to do it.
I would not be in favor of that at all.
Well, and that's, I think, what we ended up getting back to. That's something we gotta get over. If there's a need, again, it's an option for the people. You don't have to do this.
Sure.
You can make one payment
Where-
if you can afford it,
where
or
do
you
we
can
put
do
that?
those too.
I'm sorry.
But I think there's clearly ways in which we can get through this and past this to benefit those people. We already know that there's a need, right, based on the SOHA program, that we can get this done, so. But
To piggyback
it's
on
good
your-
to know that you weren't the only only treasurer in the state of Oklahoma that was against this, because that's the narrative that was given to
So
us.
I'm the legislative chair for the Treasurers Association, so I'm the one that goes to Oklahoma City and knocks on the doors and meets with the reps. So
Okay.
I'm the one they saw, but they also got calls, each one of them should have got calls from their personal
Yeah.
treasurer, the one that presides in their counties.
We were actually told that prior to that bill being run, so
That was 2
I
years
don't
ago.
know. That's okay.
Oh, well.
That's
That was
okay.
2
You're gonna work
years
with us on it now. So
Yeah,
here we go.
yeah. But yeah, your fellow treasurer.
Did you want to
I'm sorry,
piggyback
yeah.
before I get to Counselor Dutton?
So when they make the first payment of the two,
It's a
that money is put into an account in,
It's,
Is that
so if I get it by December 31st,
Right.
it's in your bank account by January 15th, and it's in Tulsa Public Schools January 15th. And then the second payment that I get by March 31st,
Right.
it's in your account by April 15th, it's in TPS's account by April 15th. So when I get it in, I send it out. But the state statute says I shall take at least half. So if it's a $100 bill and they come in with $49.99, I can't take it.
can't take
Right.
it, okay. All right.
That's what the
State
ordinance says,
statute,
or
right.
the statute says.
Okay, Counselor Dutton.
So I'm gonna go full transparency here. So I have not paid my home property taxes yet, so I'm delinquent.
On the record.
You have a
On the
nice
record.
house. You have a nice house.
It's an old house. Yeah,
I'm
no,
joking.
do you want it?
No, I'm joking.
That said, if you can have a mortgage and make your payments through the mortgage company each
Escrow.
month, I
Escrow.
can't understand why, as a senior, and this is my only employment, so I'm under, and I guess I'm living in poverty level, so to speak, which, I'm sorry, colleagues, but, so if I had been able to make payments, I probably would have been better off, and I would have been able to make my property tax payments. They do go up every year. I don't care how old you are, what kind of.
Well, there is the
offsets.
senior freeze, I
There's-
tell
I get
everybody to
that.
try to
Freeze.
get on that. There is a double homestead exemption, there's a senior valuation freeze, the 100% disabled veterans as well.
My point is, though, is that it would have been easier for me to make payments. Monthly payments, and sign a waiver that these payments were going to be made. It's no different than having insurance. You know, it's no different, if you're gonna drive a car, you have to have that insurance, or you can't drive that car. So, to me, it would be beneficial to these community members here in Tulsa, if we were to have something set up like that, that would help them be able to follow through and not be in delinquent, because now I'm racking up charges that you're talking about, well, it's their money, if they come back and get it, you know, what are we gonna do with that money, that interest? Well, you're racking up charges anyway with interest from late payments and late fees. So I'm not understanding what the differentiation is between, well, it's their money, you know, we're getting interest on it, you know, till December, whatever. You're getting interest on it even when it's late. So, yeah, so I can't,
Penalty interest versus.
right,
Yeah.
right, but it's still interest.
Interest earnings.
Yeah, so I can't wrap my head around that justification. So, those are my comments and my transparency, true statement.
I think we'll take a look at the ordinance and start picking it apart. We
Yeah,
can,
it would
we
be
can do
helpful.
that and see.
The statute? or-
I mean
She said ordinance.
statute, sorry.
I just
We put
wanna
on
make
the
sure
other-
that
yeah,
there
I'm
wasn't,
sorry.
I didn't miss
Yeah.
anything while I was gone.
Yeah, we convoluted my job.
Yeah, he looked,
I
didn't he?
know, I hated leaving when I sponsored the item.
Okay, you're
I
up.
think the call.
That's what happens when you leave. You're up.
Oh, yeah, so just on her last point about the penalty interest income and then the interest income that could have been received by the homeowner had they just paid one time versus 12 installments monthly. I totally get what you're saying, but I do think that there are some people who would just take advantage of it because it's so much easier just to have an amount pulled out of their bank account or automatically deducted every single month, although it is lost income for them. In those situations where you do earn the interest income, that could have been somebody else's, and you have you made a valid statement that you're gonna feel, I can't remember what your words were, but there's kind of a guilt that the homeowner is not receiving that income and the county treasurer's office is. So can you put that interest income to good use in some way where you can help those who can't pay their delinquent taxes or something like that?
So I'm bound by state statute.
Yeah, so if
Unlike
we
the
can-
city of Tulsa, that you guys can make an ordinance and do pretty much whatever you can,
Right.
you know, fathom
We're-
under state, you know,
Yeah.
constitution guidelines.
Yeah.
I can only do what the state statute allows me to
So,
do.
so,
So there'd have to be a statute that says,
yeah, you can collect
the interest
monthly.
earnings off of this payment plan goes to a special fund, and it would have to be set up and, you know, how
Okay.
it's distributed, and, I mean,
Okay.
it all have to be outlined, yes.
Okay, but I would love to play that through and just see what the opportunities are. 'Cause I don't know what you run up against. I don't know how many people need support or need help. I don't know how many people get evicted because they can't pay their taxes. But if you can use that interest income to keep somebody from being evicted, then you put that interest income to good use. And so there may be a silver lining in all this. You help people save on a monthly basis so that they're not delinquent, and you keep people who are delinquent in their homes. So it'd be worth just pinning it out, you know, or pro forma-ing it,
Yeah, that's why
so
we're
you can
here.
see. What's that?
That's why we're here.
Yeah, yeah.
How many homes a year do you average taking possession, do you know?
Last year's sale, we sold 189 pieces of property. Now, of those, a lot of them were just empty pieces of land, and some of those were not in the city of Tulsa. So I don't know the exact number of homes
Okay.
that I sold in the city of Tulsa. I could figure
Feel
that
like
out.
50?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Counselor?
John, it's too bad our federal government doesn't feel that way. Because they get tax-free loans all year when they owe returns at the end of the year or the following year. So, yeah, I totally agree with Phil. If it is lost income because it's easier for them to make those partial payments, where you could potentially take that interest and apply it elsewhere. If that is, you know, through the statute where you're kind of handcuffed, right? I obviously think we need to figure out how to make that bill to where it supports us.
I think you guys have
It
me
supports you,
a little bit
obviously.
wrong. I want them to keep the interest income in that same account.
Right.
So if you give me $100 to hang on to, that next month you'll have $100.40 to hang on to, and then you
Oh,
put that
it's not
extra
gonna be
$100
into
in
a
there,
big
then you have
okay.
$200.80 to hang on to. That's the way I wanna see it, is they hang on to the interest, so it goes to their tax payment, because it's their tax dollars.
Gotcha. So by December 31st,
Could be
when
that way,
they've made
too.
They
that,
maybe have 10 extra dollars that they can put to their
Gotcha.
tax bill.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what their tax bill is gonna be, and to the point that if they always go up,
Good.
they're gonna need that extra money.
Yeah, that's,
That's a positive.
That's fair.
yeah. Yeah, I thought it was going into some general
Yeah.
fund and you.
That's what
and
it was in the original bill, and that's why I was against it, because if these people are having a hard enough time to pay their bills,
Yeah,
we don't need to keep their money too.
it seems like an easy fix.
It is.
It just seems like
Finding the right author and getting the right words.
a sentence or two.
But when I went to try to get it amended, nobody was hearing me, so.
But my thing is, if a person needs that, there's nothing wrong with if, whatever the interest or whatever the fee is. Sometimes you charge the fee. If you take this option, then you charge that fee. You know it. And if it's worth it to you, you'll pay it.
And accounting fee.
It happens all the time as we purchase items. So, and I just don't think that's something to stop this type of program that will benefit so many, not only in Tulsa, throughout the state.
John, a
banks
question,
have
is setting up the accounting procedures to keep track of all this interest and accounts, is that something that is easier, or is there?
So 75, as of this next fiscal year, of the 77 counties will be on one software company called TM Software out of Enid, Oklahoma. And so, it would have to be, I would think we would want the effective date to be pushed out a little bit to give them enough time to do whatever programming they'd have to do to figure that out. It's not rocket science. There's banks that do it all the time, so, this is basically a bank op,
That's it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, well, we'll get on it.
All right.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Hey, thank you.
yeah.
Thanks for coming.
I remember when we moved in this room, so. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
ya.
you.
Have a good one.
See you, buddy.
See ya.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, number 9.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
My aide is gonna be doing some research on the other states, and we'll get that information to you.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Number 9, presentation update with representatives from Family and Children's Services, and I believe Counselor Gilbert is the one that brought this up. So welcome and come to the table. Yeah.
haven't seen any of the.
Whoever's doing the presentation. So we put this on the agenda just to talk about family and children's services. I always talk about how District 5 is the heart of Tulsa. We still are. We have several different nonprofit organizations that do wonderful outreach to citizens, and Family and Children's Services is one of those, but they're also one of our partners with COPES and other initiatives. So I thank you all for coming and talking about what all you do, and especially we hear it and we see it in the headlines almost every day now about the shortfall with the state mental health, and it just seems to be getting worse and not better. So hopefully it will change tide and start getting better. So especially with everything that you all do. So thank you.
Thank you for inviting us. I will introduce myself and then we'll each introduce ourselves. I'm Whitney Downey. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for Family and Children's. I've been there 26 years. I also run the Children's Services.
Hello, yes, thank you for inviting us today. Jill Young, Chief Operating Officer, also oversee the adult mental health programs and also have been there 26 years. So I've seen a lot happen over the time, probably.
I'm Krista Lewis. I'm Chief Program Officer for Medical and Crisis Services at Family and Children's Services, and I'm about to celebrate my 25th anniversary.
So you can see we're 75 plus years that we've been at Family and Children's Services, so we're really happy and thank you for inviting us to kind of talk about all of our programs. So when we were putting this together, it was, what's my clicker? Okay, thank you. We have 70 programs, 179 locations, 10 offices, 32 co-loc sites that were embedded in 144 schools. So we thought, oh, how do we tell you this story? So we're gonna kind of walk through this the best we can. We'll ping off of each other since we put this together. So Jill, if you could talk about this.
So I know you all have heard a lot about CCBHC, Certified Behavioral Health Clinics, in the news. And so since we have switched to that model in 2021, it's really allowed us to expand our services. That's sort of the idea behind CCBHC, is to offer more access. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but we wanted to weave in a little bit about our outcomes. What does that expansion do for us, and what do we get for all that access? We've been able to track that we can serve individuals 5 times faster in a mental health center than the national average. We had a grant for a while that we were tracking emergency room services for children and adults, and when we really started tracking that, we started seeing we had a 98% decrease for children and a 90% decrease for adults of individuals who were visiting the emergency rooms. And so they were coming to mental health services instead of going to emergency rooms for mental health needs. So when we sort of piloted that to see what difference we're making, we were able to see that if they get the right care at the right place at the right time, we can reduce ER visits. We also have seen that 55% of the individuals that we're serving with substance use issues have a significant reduction in their substance use issues when they engage in services at our agency. Also, we have a population that we serve that is noted as most in need, so there are high utilizers, folks that go to the ERs, go to psychiatric inpatient units, those kinds of things, jails, incarceration. And there has been a 30% increase in services for that particular population that we're serving. We try to really wrap care around those individuals who need that higher level of care to, really increase those outcomes for those individuals.
Okay. So we just thought we would put in here just a brief slide, and if Krista wants to talk about how our whole person care has changed a little bit with the CCBHC model, or do you want me to go ahead and do that?
I thought this was more focused on team-based care, but if it's whole person care, I can.
Well, on the team-based care. So, I mean, what we have are therapists, we have care coordinators, we have case managers, and in the schools we have behavioral health aides that wrap around services so that the families and the children and the individuals are all getting these services. So there's 9 core services that are part of being in a CCBHC that we're responsible for. So crisis, management, medication management, care coordination, social service, like social determinants of health. Anything else you two can think of that I've left out? So just to get an idea that we have a team of people that wrap around our clients.
Looking at the whole person, not just looking at one aspect or another, not looking at just mental health, but also looking at medical health. The care coordination is really making sure that we make connections in the community to medical providers, and then help have that coordination between our medical staff, which are psychiatrists and nurse practitioners and PAs, with those providers in the community. I just wanted to add that.
I would also add that the other thing CCBHC has done is that we can have a team-based approach now. So historically, we may have had, I'm not kidding, one caseload of a case manager with 500 to 800 people on their caseload. Now we can really expand our staffing, not only our staffing, but our locations, as I mentioned, and provide that wraparound care, the nursing, the therapy, the case management, the psychiatric interventions, the medications. So the team-based care is really essential to this new model that we're providing.
Yeah, and later on in our story, we can talk about how we've been able to leverage doing extra things like being able to go sit in treatment teams in psychiatric hospitals to help bridge the gap of getting people back out into services, which we're able to do because we have this bigger team to work with. So that kind of lends us to, here are our locations that we have. They're clinics mostly, and these are just family and children, so you can see how they're spread through the city. You want to talk about our new offices, Jill?
Sure. So again, expansion, CCBHC, increasing access. We have been able to fortunately open up 2 additional offices, actually 3 additional offices in the last 14 months. So we opened the East office in February of 2024. We opened the Apache office recently. I remember seeing you at the ribbon cutting. Thank you for coming. So to serve North Tulsa, and then we recently opened our Sheridan office, which is East Midtown location. One of the reasons we really focused on East and North is in 2021, Healthy Minds issued a report, a needs assessment, so to speak, that indicated that there were underserved populations in those areas. So that was about the same time we became a CCBHC. So as soon as we could get our feet up under us, get into the model, get the funding coming in, we took that, reinvested it, and opened up these clinics in those underserved areas to provide more access.
So access, big piece of what we're mandated to do, big piece of what we should do anyway. So we're in the schools, we have direct referral lines, we go to the hospitals and help bridge the gap between a psychiatric stay and coming back to outpatient services. We can show that increasing all these points of service and implementing the CCBHC model, that we've had a 23% growth in services to clients in the last 12 months. So that seems like a lot. Here, you wanna talk about this?
Go ahead, Jill. Sure. So this is just an example. We talked about how we are either embedded or we are co-located throughout the community in over 170 locations. So this is just an example of some of those locations. As Whitney pointed out, St. Francis was sort of, I know your baby, and it's been a long time goal of ours to get inside the hospital to help with that transition of care from the hospital, from the ER back into mental health treatment, because that's oftentimes where we lose people, right? Folks won't necessarily engage if it's just left up to them to come into care. So we really partner. We have great community partners across the city who allow us to use their space, use their offices. We have 2 clinic vans, mobile clinic vans, that we can offer services out of. It sort of looks like a clinic on the inside, and we offer telehealth services also for medical reasons.
So, we have grown to 12 districts, 144 schools, lots of staff. We serve TPS, all 77 schools with our crisis team. So they're available. We have a dedicated crisis team for Tulsa Public Schools for any kind of mental health crisis that they do. Krista runs that. We also are embedded in 43 of Tulsa Public School sites. And then we do the transition services of any crisis that may happen in the school. We do wrap those kids around with our specialty team to bring them back into school. So trying to help, bring down absenteeism and also help stabilize kids so that they can go back to school, which is really what we need to happen. The school growth has been phenomenal, and we're really proud of all the kids we've been able to see. We also have in our Lapidus Center, our child abuse and trauma services. So we have very specific services. We have home-based services, we have intensive services, we have child abuse and neglect. They do some court services. We have a Safe Care Expansion, which is a team that goes into people's homes and helps them with their very young children and help them keep them physically safe in their homes, teaching them those skills. So this is a really important team for us to have, and it's a specialty team.
And one of the things that, in talking about access, this particular group of services has had an increase of intakes by 8% over last year and a 38% increase in services delivered this year. So I think that speaks to the expansion of staff and being able to know that the families and children across the city of Tulsa and the county of Tulsa have access to those services when they are specifically needed for a trauma or abuse situation, so.
Krista, I'm gonna let you start this one.
Okay, great. So part of our service delivery system is offering psychiatry as well as medications and through our pharmacy. After a moment, I'll punt it back to you, but we have, let's see, in 2001, we hired one psychiatrist. We now have close to 23 psychiatry providers across our system. That is in order to be able to provide immediate access. We are in the process of also adding services for individuals and families living with IDD, intellectual and developmental disabilities. We are very proud that we are able to offer same-day psychiatry. So if someone comes into an intake department and they are willing to stay and meet with a psychiatrist, they can meet a psychiatrist the same day, as well as go to our pharmacy and get pharmacy service same day. So that was an undertaking, but it's definitely something that typically when somebody needs our services, they want it now. If they don't want to stay for psychiatry, we can get them back in within 14 days. Our pharmacy outperforms many Walgreens or even CVS. We fill between 600 and 700 prescriptions a day. That is a growth over 50. We were filling 50 prescriptions a day when we first started. So sometimes the numbers help you see how many people we're serving in our community.
And then in addition to that, we were just wanting to make sure that you understood we have clinics that we just do outpatient services. We have children specific, we have adult specific, individual family group therapies that we do for the whole community. Our Apache location and our East location are first two locations that we have both kids and adults in. So we're interested in seeing how that balance will work.
Can I add one more quick
Yes,
thing? Because I'm not sure
absolutely.
if you all are aware, we have community Narcan distribution boxes. And they are spread, I think we have 10 different locations right now. And those Narcan kits are distributed through our pharmacy as well. There are times when the state is not able to fund all of the Narcan boxes, all the Narcan kits that are out there. And our profits from our pharmacy will also purchase additional Narcan kits to ensure the community stays stocked and people can come get them whenever they need them.
I have some in my glove box that I got out of the box at Day Center for the Homeless.
Excellent.
Yep,
I'm
just
glad
in
to hear
case.
that.
I mean, I
Yes.
never
You
know when I'm gonna
You never
run
know.
across somebody who's gonna need help.
Exactly. And I highly recommend you take them with you on vacation, because you never know.
Oh, yeah,
Just saying.
Mhm.
I encourage people to do that all the time.
sure.
Jill's
Good
our
point.
expert on jail and prison diversion.
So, I know I said it, but I really want to point this out because it's been in the news so much. CCBHCs, they make so much money, oh my goodness, those kinds of things. This really is a story about reinvestment. So when I talk about jail and prison diversion services, right now we have about 14 positions between the Tulsa County Jail and the Tulsa City Jail. We do all sorts of things in the jail. The sheriff is incredibly supportive of us and provides the space for us to do the work that we need to do. So we're able to screen individuals for alternative courts like drug court, mental health court, those types of programs. Oftentimes when someone is incarcerated, they're more amenable to maybe considering something as opposed to when they are released from jail. And it's a voluntary situation. We also have reentry teams, so therapist case managers who develop and build relationships with individuals while they're incarcerated, try to really engage them, tell them about our services, and hopefully engage them once they are released. We also have 2 outreach workers that once people are released from jail, we try to go out and find them and re-engage them or get them engaged so that they don't have to continue to repeat the same cycles. I will say that many of these positions in the jail are not funded specifically. They're what we call FCS funded, another reinvestment. And that is one of the places we're looking at to potentially have to cut should the funding not come through. Or if you've heard probably about PENDIT, if we don't get any uncompensated care, even a portion of our uncompensated care, which is looking to be about $33 million this year, we won't be able to continue. So we can do some of it, but some of these positions are not funded. And so we've been able to do it over these last few years. I know this is also a hot topic, outreach and engagement, especially for the homeless individuals across the state. I just continue to say, we are doing more, not just we, Grand Mental Health, Creoaks, many other housing solutions, Day Center for the Homeless. I could continue. We are doing so much more outreach than we've ever done before in this city, and yet we're seeing the problem worsen. I think if you talk to Mark Smith, CEO of Housing Solutions, which you probably have, you would learn that, we have a lot fewer affordable, safe homes than we had before the pandemic or just a few years ago. The services are there and they're there for the taking. It's not a lack of services, it's really a lack of housing and affordable housing and safe housing, and even sometimes the transitional care, permanent supportive housing, those kinds of things. Just to give you an idea, our homeless outreach team outreached 2,400 individuals just this last quarter of this year. So that's just our homeless outreach team and just family and children services. We outreached 367 individuals who were released from jail. We outreached 598 individuals who are our most in needs, our highest utilizers and individuals. We have many folks enrolled in our clinic-based services, and if they go unengaged for 4 to 6 weeks, we send teams out to try to engage them and bring them back into care. That number was 1,300 over the last quarter. So we are doing a ton of outreach and education. Many of our services are voluntary, so folks have to be willing to take us up on it. So I just wanted to point out, it's really not a lack of services, it's not a lack of outreach and engagement, it is other things at play.
So another specialty program we have is our maternal mental health program that we've worked with BEST and GKFF in developing. And we have 6 therapists, 4 case managers that we are currently serving up to 600 moms who are either having postpartum issues. But what we've found with the population that we're serving is that we were having to work through a fair amount of trauma with them before we can get to their postpartum issues. They have specialty training that there's only one place in the country to get that is, working with this. And then we work with our collateral partners with the Strong Tomorrows or the doulas or the hospitals to identify these women to get them services.
So employment and education, which I think really impacts not only the individuals that we serve, but also the community in which they live. So part of the IPS program, which is individual placement and support, this is a program, there are no limitations on an individual who wants to have a job. You don't have to be sustaining from a substance, you don't have to be in remission from a mental illness. We work with individuals to help them determine what their dream job is and then help them prepare for that. We don't necessarily do job coaching, but we have been very successful. We've had, as that says, 267% increase in the employment services that are happening at Family and Children's Services through our outpatient department. So working within both of their programs, we send specialty staff in. And these are individuals who are finding jobs in locations close to where they live and in our community. So while they're finding greater connection to their community, reducing their isolation, reducing symptoms, they are also feeling like they're contributing back to society and being able to be a part of their community.
And then specifically with Women in Recovery, their program saved the state nearly $3 million by diverting clients to employment. So, Jill, you want to talk about Women
Sure.
in Recovery?
So many of you probably have heard of or have maybe even visited or gone to a graduation at Women in Recovery. Hugely successful. Grateful to have lots of funding for that, including the Kaiser funding. But it is an IOP, intensive outpatient, wraparound kind of program, alternative to incarceration program, sort of a last-stop shop program. So we try to really throw everything at it, making sure everyone who comes to this program has everything they need to be successful. Education, training, support, come out with jobs, and we'll talk a little bit about how we contribute to the job piece in a minute. The therapy, you can imagine the trauma. Many of our women, all of our women who we serve have been through some sort of incredible trauma that they need really a lot of assistance with. Family reunification, working with their children, and making just their entire lives healthier. And just some other alternatives to incarceration programs. We also have, as I mentioned earlier, our drug court programs, mental health court programs. Over the last couple of years, we had started with the Department of Mental Health a municipal misdemeanor program. And so that's been also hugely successful. The Women's Justice Team also is run under Mimi Tarash, who runs Women in Recovery. And it's a little, I wouldn't say completely preventative, but more on the other extreme. We're trying to get and engage individuals before they hit the Women in Recovery eligibility, if you will.
So thank you, everyone, for coming on the tour of the crisis delivery system throughout Tulsa. I know you're probably very familiar with what All Family and Children's Services does. So what I wanted to do is I really wanted to give you some updates so that you would know the investment that the community has made and the ways that we are giving back. So 911, you're aware that we have a clinician with COPES in the 911 call center. In the last 2 months, we have served 1,638 calls in the 911 center have been diverted to our COPES clinician. 88% of those calls have been diverted from first responders altogether. That's a huge savings for the city, and the officers are thanking, I mean, they are noticing it. And they are saying, thank you, we can focus on crime, we can focus on keeping the city safe. And the mental health first responders can be the ones on site and make sure people need what they need. We also, with COPES, 80% of the individuals who call us in crisis are stabilized in their natural environment. So they can still connect with family, they can connect with their jobs, they're not having to go into a higher level of care and feel the additional burden of not maybe being home to take care of their children, or they're not with their natural support systems. We wrap around them to ensure they have a safety net to keep them in their homes. I know we're running out of time, that's why I wanted to keep that really short. Do you guys have a question about the?
Let me ask a quick question off
Please.
of that. So, who's taking care of the caretakers?
And I think that within our system of crisis, we are going back to those families and getting them connected to the outpatient programs. That's one of the strong initiatives we've had this year, is that we have created a system called post-crisis navigation, where they aren't just calling, they're going back to those homes, and they are connecting them with schedulers, and those schedulers track those families or track those individuals until they either say, I'm really not interested in services, or they actually have an intake. This year, we have had almost 1,000 individuals who have intaked with our organization, and there's as many, if not more, that have been referred back to their providers or provider of choice at Grand, Creoaks, CRS. That is, we know that the best way to prevent a future crisis is to get people the services or the resources that they need to connect in the community.
Yep. I think maybe, I don't want to speak for you, but maybe what I heard you say was, if you have a COPE specialist taking 1,600 calls, how are you resourcing them to bear the weight of that?
Okay.
That was what I was.
I am so sorry, I did not
Take care of
understand
the
that was your
caregivers.
question.
Yep.
I apologize. We have 8.6 clinicians who are embedded 24/7. I mean, it takes 8.6 clinicians to be in the 911 center 24/7, 365. And we have dedicated clinical supervisors. We ensure that they have snacks and food, and we have an EAP program so that if a clinician feels like they need additional support, there's free mental health services for them. I'm not going to say that there aren't times when our clinicians need additional support. They do. It's a tough job. It's hard work. Right now, we are trying to figure out how to make sure everybody gets a lunch within the 911 call center, because it's difficult to step away. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and I'm sorry I misunderstood.
No, that's okay.
So thank you for clarifying, and we are all working through figuring out how to best support those clinicians to give
That's
them the
good.
resources that they need.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we don't lose sight of the people that are giving
Correct.
us help.
Correct,
Thank
and
you
that's
for
one of the
bringing that
reasons why growing the way we did from 24 to 25 was so essential, was to be able to give people time to recover and be able to step away after a difficult call.
Decompress from it.
Yes.
Yep.
So I mentioned earlier, one of the things we do is provide employment. So we have a Family and Children's Services thrift store, and this was really mission-driven. It lost money for many years. Now I think it barely breaks even, which is fine. But the mission behind it is that we employ women in recovery graduates. The manager is a women recovery graduate. The employees are. They're incredible employees. They are so grateful to have a job and to be there. The other thing that we do is we provide what we call thrift store tokens to our clients in need. So if they have a basic need, clothing, basic furniture, those kinds of things, they can come in and shop and get some of their needs met. So it's really out of our mission that we invested in this venture. And then we're gonna give you, we have a packet of handouts. So we do have a podcast, and in your handout, you'll see that there's a copy of this with a QR code with a listing of all the different podcasts that we do, just educational, kind of all over the board, and just different presenters across our agency.
And finally, we just thank you for allowing us this time to tell you more about what we do instead of just all the front page stuff that is kind of the headline to all the people that we've been able to serve. I think Family and Children serves about 30,000 people a year. So it's pretty significant, and and as you say, it rolls out to their caretakers. So there's a lot of people we care for.
Please know this QR code will take you to our website landing page and tell you more about CCBHC. There's other documents out there as well if you want to have more education. Our CEO has really focused on making handouts and information easy to digest, because it is a complicated system. And so please know that if you would like to know more, that takes you to our website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Do you have any questions?
No?
Thank you
I
for
do have
making
one
sure I
question,
understand.
and it's probably one I probably know the answer to, not just hoping one day we can figure this out. I noticed a lot of the service you all provide, there's some other nonprofits provide services, and we've got this community, especially with the pharmacy. Is there any way to track to make sure that we have people that aren't pharmacy hopping?
Yes, we absolutely do.
Thank you.
They, especially with the rise of abusing certain drugs, our nursing staff that is embedded within our med clinic, we're required by state and federal law to check the PMPM to make sure that people are not pharmacy hopping. And if we find that someone is, then our medical staff address that.
Good.
And they will discontinue. We are not a benzodiazepine-friendly clinic. I'm not gonna say that we are a benzo-free zone. We do utilize it in situations where it's appropriate, but we do not have psychiatry team members at Family and Children's Services that just prescribe Schedule II or possibly addictive drugs on a regular basis. So
Okay.
it's just our practice and our belief.
That's great, appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Creating another fund.
Goes on small.
Right.
But it spells
Exactly.
labeling your
Okay.
pencil, you get two in a pack.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Someone else on this.
But I just.
I don't know.
You got a lot of, you gotta be careful, because you got too bad on there.